Good. How are you guys
Tommy,
today?
go ahead.
Hey, by the way, I apologize if my grandson is wailing like Kap after a Cubs 3-game sweep to the Reds at home. So if you hear him screaming in the background, don't get concerned. It's just it's a month-old child not feeling great.
Yeah, a shot at Kap.
Oh, I love Kap. I love Kap.
No reason for that.
Tommy and I we go way back.
Can I tell you guys too? I was doing some preparing for this conversation, which I love every week. I was doing some quarter of the season auditing on their offense. Mm-hmm. And I know this is a lot of stuff that you already know, but for the people out there, through 4 weeks, this offense is averaging 253 yards and 16 offensive points per game. That ranks 30th in both categories. They're 29th in rushing offense, averaging 87 yards per game, 3.5 yards per carry. Their passing game is 26th, averaging 166 yards per game. After facing 2 top 10 offenses in the first 2 weeks, they've faced the 2 worst defenses in the National Football League, in the Colts and the Rams. And the next 2 weeks, they get the Panthers and Jags. Those 2 teams are basically 28th and 30th overall. The moral of my story here is it's go time for the offense. Mm-hmm. I've preached patience for good reason, because I think it takes a lot of time for everybody to get on the same page. There's a lot of new here. I liked some of the adjustments they made last week, but it didn't solve all of their problems. Now they've got to incorporate some shot plays and become a more explosive offense. But I think as you guys were talking, you've got a really good opportunity the next 2 weeks to really not only get a W, but to also get your offense on track. Now you got to stack improvement, not just stacking W's, but you got to stack offensive improvement, I think, to just, again, confirm to everyone in that building and in the offensive meeting rooms that what they're doing can work.
So, Tommy, let me ask you about – Hoodie asked me a question. If I could put the offensive line together how I would want it, how would I do it? How would you do it? Because I would have Tevin Jenkins and Darnell Wright on the right side.
Can I get a start over? Like, can I draft a kid out of Penn State to be my right guard?
No.
Can I? You sure?
Yeah, you can't get some. You can get some road grader from the Big Ten to help you for a decade.
Left tackle
for a decade. You can't do that, Tommy. No. So if you like to bring in Amagaje, you can bring him into the mix if you like.
Is he hurt?
Yes.
No, he's back practicing.
Okay.
It's like he's hurt.
I first of all, as long as you make the offensive lineman tree unavailable to me so I could just pluck some people and put them in place.
No.
This is who you are. Braxton Jones is your left tackle. And right now, as we've all said for so long, he's just doesn't have enough, there's not enough in his base, and he gets pushed back. And look, after so many times watching it on film, they're going to keep bull rushing you. They don't even have to speed rush you. They just got to drive you back into the quarterback. But I heard you talking earlier. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any offensive line. I stayed away from. I had a lot of offensive linemen friends, but I don't know much about the O-line. But I'd keep Wright at right tackle. I probably would move Tevin to, if everyone's healthy, move Tevin to right guard. You got to keep Coleman. I think Coleman Shelton knows what he's doing. I just don't think, He's
just not very good.
Yeah, right. And probably keep Matt Pryor at left guard at this moment.
Yep.
And, Braxton Jones. The funny thing is that there are moments. I think Nate Davis does have a lot of talent, guys. I do. Now, that doesn't always show up, and you can make whatever evaluation you want of him. But when you see him do things, he does some things where you go, wow, that's high-level play for that position. It's just not frequent enough. He's just not available enough. And that's what's so frustrating, that the body of work isn't good, but his ability to do what they ask you to do at his position, he's got the skill to do it at a pretty high level. So
yeah.
I agree with you guys. You know how I felt. I'm a broken record. It's the one thing I thought that would limit this team, at least in 2024, was their offensive line. My hope is that all of those guys would be better. It feels like, not to commingle these concepts, but when Jed Hoyer meets the media and says, really what we need to be a better team, and I really like Jed, is that all of our guys have to outform their projections.
Yeah, well, how about him?
Well, that's true. That's another conversation. But my point is that when you attach that type of analysis to the Bears offensive line, to just think that we're going to get to where we need to go just if everyone on the offensive line outperforms their projections. Like if Braxton Jones shows that he can anchor that left side without getting pushed back, if Tevin Jenkins could show that he is going to be available and consistent, if Coleman Shelton plays like a top half of the league center as a free agent,
even though he never has.
Right. And if Nate Davis can step in and be a player that we thought we were getting, but we haven't seen in a year and a half, and Darnell Wright takes that next step to be a dominant player. Like, that's a lot of ifs, guys. Like, if all of that happens, I think that you're going to be really secure. It didn't happen. So what have they had to do? They've had to adjust how they attack people. You think Shane Waldron came in, and again, evaluate Shane Waldron however you want. That was a decision made by the head coach and the GM, and you knew what you were getting. He has a long resume of being a guy that's going to throw it, and really run it occasionally. But you think when he came in here that what he was going to do was in the running game, he was going to line up a power attack? Like, it took him 3 weeks after getting nowhere with the running game to make the adjustment that, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go north and south. Looked better last week, didn't it? Didn't look great.
If you were sitting next to him on the plane headed on a business trip and he was flying to Chicago and you're sitting, oh, who are you? My name's Shane. Oh, I'm Tom. What do you do? I'm interviewing with the Bears. Oh, I could see into the future. You're going to have Doug Kramer at fullback. He'd be like, yeah, right.
Exactly. So, like, this is what, again, this is an excuse, but this is how I see it. And I'm not suggesting they made the right call or he's the right guy. But I think you bring him in, and at what point, guys, if you've done a job for so long, are you willing to hit the escape hatch and go away from what you do? Week 1, you face a front that's very solid inside against the Titans, and they punched you in the mouth, and you're like, oh, boy, that was difficult. But there were plays all over the field to be made. We just didn't execute. Week 2, you go down to Houston. Everyone knows you're probably going to get beat. It's a really good Houston team. They're going to bring pressure. Whoa, man, that was a little more fierce than we thought we were going to get. But next week, we go to the Indianapolis Colts with no DeForest Buckner. They're dead last in rush defense. We'll be able to get my offense on track. I thought that was the come to Jesus moment. When you couldn't get anything done against an inferior Colts defense, that's where I think they came back and go, okay, this offense that I think works, that works for McVay and works for others, we can't run it with our offensive line, so we've got to scale some stuff back. I think personally that's what they did, and that's where I think they made some improvement. They were able to run the ball a little bit. They took care of the ball, which I thought was the difference in the game. But like they're going to have to keep it simple and do simple better, as Joe Madden said, until like they find their rhythm and they start to blossom. Right now, they're not there.
Who is your most valuable Bear through the first 4 games?
I heard you guys discussing this. I think it's a great question. It's one of the more difficult questions I think that I've had to answer like this early in a season. I sent you guys a text. I said Billings for me. I think he's been their most consistent difference-making player. And he's not flashy, obviously. I don't know if he even has a sack, but what he does to disrupt running games and what he does to take on double teams to allow others to do their jobs, I don't know how he's graded out, but I wouldn't be shocked at all to find out that he is their highest graded defensive player.
So between this show and Waddle and Sylvie, of all the things we talked about this summer, where it's talking about Caleb Williams and the offense and the weapons for Caleb Williams and the running game and Montez Sweat. Who's Montez Sweat? He's got sweat in the drips. Who else is going to be able to rush the passer or make a difference? Andrew Billings was never in the conversation. I can guarantee between 7 hours a day for 4 months, no one was talking about Andrew Billings, but you have me as your MVP.
Well, I mean, listen, it's early.
I think that's a little over the top.
Well,
he's a good player. I love him.
Who's played better? Who's played better?
Brisker, for sure.
I mean, you're living in the moment right now. I mean, yeah, Brisker's been good, but I don't know. Has he been better than Billings at his job? I'd go back and look at that. I tell you, go back. I know
Billings has 7 tackles for the season, 5 solo,
I get it.
2 assists, 1 forced fumble, no
be a
sacks.
Stat jockey, because that doesn't tell.
My God,
how did he start Waddle Wednesday?
Well,
you gave us some great numbers.
Well, I get it
exactly.
That's true. I'm guilty of that.
Wait a minute.
I was painting a picture, though. I wasn't coming to a conclusion, but I'm just saying, like telling the individual story of So you wanted to, okay, I won't argue with Brisker. Who else? Like Jalen, they really haven't thrown at him. He's got an interception. Like, I'll buy that it's Brisker.
Well, I think it's what you said, though, Tommy. It's living in the moment. He was the best player on the field for me last week against the Rams. If here's the thing, guys. If we don't know, that's a problem. And especially if it's not offense, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like offensively, like I said, before the break, this is go time for them. This is go time. I was very happy to see the improvement they made in the running game. They kept it simple. They were asking guys to do less. They got Cole Kmet involved in kind of coming back in motion and cracking, a defensive lineman and linebackers, which I thought is a good element to the game. It helps your running game. They did some simple things better, but I thought Caleb did a really good job at times taking what the defense was giving him and taking care of the football. You won that game, in my humble opinion, because your defense stiffened up in the red zone. They bogged down in the red zone, which is also a product of not having Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, because Cooper Kupp can dominate you in the red zone with arrow routes and motion and all kinds of stuff. But the Bears stiffened their spine in the red zone, and they won the turnover battle. That was the difference in the game, because if you put on the film, I'm telling you, the more impressive team, to me at least, especially on offense, was the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams averaged 4.5 yards per carry. I mean, they ran the ball for 120-some yards, and they attacked the middle of the field. I want the Bears offensively to take, and I know they don't have Sean McVay, and I know that right now Caleb's a rookie. He's not Matthew Stafford, but I want them to attack the middle of the field in much the way that the Rams attack.
Like the throw to Cole Kmet.
Yeah, and I said to you guys last week that I think they're making a mistake by not getting DJ involved. And at the break, I was talking with Shea about it, and it seems like they're just fixated on DJ plays the X on the line of scrimmage, Rome plays the Z, and we're not. And the X over here is going to run, clearing 9 routes, and we're going to run quick outs and bubble screens. And the other guy, the Z, the rookie, we're going to ask him to do some deep overs and some deep ins. And so I wish, if you watch the Rams, they ask their guys to do all of the routes. It's not that one guy plays X and only runs these routes. He's actually, on one play, he's playing the Z, and on the other play, he's playing the X. And I just want them to get DJ more involved down the field. He's frustrated right now. You can see it. I don't think it's truly affecting his play, and I think his frustration isn't that he wants to be the statistically the best leader, the guy with the most catches and yards. And I'm just, projecting here. But as he's told you, I think, Kap, he's tired of losing. He wants to win.
Yeah.
He wants to be the reason why they're winning. And he's coming from Carolina, where he was the first option, the second option, and the third option. And last year, his first year in a Bears uniform with Justin, he was the first option and the second option and the third option. When you add Keenan and you add Rome Odunze, his targets are going to go down, but I just don't think they're using him to be the explosive player that he is. So
that's what he told me last week. He said, frustrated? Yeah, 7 years in the league. I've never played a playoff game. I want to win, man. Yeah. I want to go.
But here's the deal. And I love DJ, and he's been my favorite player since he got here, because not only is he a hell of a player, but he is at every practice. He works his ass off in practice. And
he's an ultimate team guy.
He's a great team guy, but I do think that people have brought it up that he is showing his frustration more. When he took his helmet off in the Houston game, I'm not bothered by any of that stuff. But when you see the frustration, especially when you're a member of the leadership council, you got to make sure that you put some of that stuff to the side and don't let some of the younger players see it, because, it then can become an issue. And I'm not suggesting that it's affecting his player. It's truly affecting the team. I'm just saying you got to, what would help that is to get on track. And they're really close in a lot of areas, really close. And I think what you're finding now is Caleb is he got heated up. He turned the ball over 3 times in Indy, and I think it was the difference in the game. So this game, what he's going to do, he's going to be more conservative. He's going to drop the ball off, make good plays, but really not press the issue and try to find his rhythm and get on track. Now what you got to do is blend the two. You got to push the ball downfield and add some of these shot plays, but also take care of the ball and take what the defense has given you. And I think that's growth and learning the game as a young rookie quarterback.
Waddle and Sylvie will be at Hallis Hall. They'll have Josh Blackwell on. They'll ask him who the MVP is. That'll be part of their show this afternoon.
How about that?
So Josh will be on, followed by Dominic Robinson, it says here. So you'll be
What's
able to
wrong
ask
with
him.
you?
Huh?
What's
It's
wrong
right
with
here in
you?
front of me. It's on the list.
Yeah, that's what it says, man.
Guys got Joshy Blackwell on. You could ask him who the MVP
He'll
is.
be in the studio there with you.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Why don't you come up, Kap, and you can sit in with us? You got an all access pass up there, don't you?
I do. 100%. But I will let you and Sylvie have your fun and frivolity, and I'll be listening.
You notice he didn't invite me. You notice that?
Right.
Yeah.
Because Jonathan,
so-
I know you're not going to drive up there.
What do you mean? It's just a whole tank of gas. It's fine.
Right.
How can
Well, it's a whole John. It's a whole tank of gas there and a whole tank of gas.
That's exactly right.
Right. Brother.
Hey, Tommy.
Yeah.
One thing I told you a couple of weeks ago when I was in Myrtle Beach, I go, Myrtle Beach is cool, man. But there's nothing like that $2.39 gas. I want to bring it back on the plane with me.
Yeah, not just that, but when you go in there after you filled up your tank of gas and like beers like $10 for a case.
Oh,
You're like, you know what? Maybe I won't go home.
Maybe I'll move to South Carolina.
Tommy and I would be doing a show down there if it wasn't for no gambling.
But Jonathan, I don't know if I'm allowed back into Myrtle Beach. It was where we went on our high school trip, and we all had fake IDs.
Yes.
There were 7 or 8 of us, and every one of them had David L. Cooter as the name on the ID.
David L. Cooter.
So
Wow.
two guys get in. Look, we're like 17 years old at the time. 2 guys get in, and everyone's kind of staggering getting in, so we don't draw any attention. After 2 guys get in, a 3rd guy gets stopped at the door, and then you hear over, because I was one of the first 2 to get in, then you hear over the loudspeakers, "Would David L. Cooter please come to the front door?" We were getting busted because they finally realized we all had the same name on the ID.
That's
So what we
so
did is we
good.
ran out the back.
David L.
So
Cooter.
we never went to the front.
David L. Cooter.
I've had drinks with David L. Cooter. That'd be all right.
So you ran out or they caught you?
No. As soon as we heard that, we scattered. We went to